people, LP2000, right back at you with another video. Yes. Welcome back. Welcome back to another video courtesy of Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Collector Monsters. And I'm back again with another great X Plus figure review for today. Yes. And you already clicked the title. You know exactly who we're talking about here. Yes, the friend of all children, the guardian of the universe. Well, actually, before he was all those things, I'm talking about the one and the only, the Invincible Gamera from his debut film. So without further ado, let's dive headfirst into this awesome X Plus figure review. And today we're taking a look at the X Plus 30cm Favorite Sculptors line Rig exclusive edition of the 1965 Gamera, based off of his appearance in his debut first ever film that was unleashed in 1965, Gamera the Giant Monster, also known as Gamera the Invincible. And as you can see, it has the beautiful figure here in all his glory, and it is a beautiful piece. It really is. To all my Gamera fans out there, full disclaimer, I'm going to say this right off the bat, you need this figure. More on that later. So you know I'm going to do things around here. Let's get up close and personal with the box before we get into the awesome figure of Gamera. And this is the box. You know, typical Favorite Sculptors line artwork when it comes to the box. And you know, I love that. I love that about the Favorite Sculptors line and the Sakai's and the 30s. I love the incredible artwork on the boxes, and this box is definitely no exception with a picture of Gamera in the front, his face in the background. Favorite Sculptors line, 30cm, 1965 Gamera. Such an awesome release, such an awesome box. And once again, as I mentioned just now, you know, the artwork on these boxes are incredible. I know if you accumulate a lot of figures like myself, you know, when it comes to the boxes, you kind of get to a point where you want to keep them or not keep them, you know, whatever. But the artwork on these boxes make it really hard for me just to trash them. And this artwork is definitely no exception. So great artwork on a box, and it's very appropriate. Great artwork for a box, or a great box for an absolutely great figure. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the X Plus Favorite Sculptors line 30cm Rig exclusive edition of Gamera 1965. Woo! That's like a mouthful. And the backstory of this figure is this. This figure kind of came out of nowhere, to be honest. Earlier this year, due to COVID, X Plus did, I think, their first ever online Spring Kaiju Festival event. It was an online event where they were showcasing new products because, like I said, with COVID, they can't really have physical conventions where they can showcase their products. So they have to do online conventions now. And around late April going into May, they had a Spring Kaiju Festival event, online event, and they showcased a few figures that would be upcoming at that point. They showcased the Favorite Sculptors line Rodan 1956 that is due to drop next year in January. They showcased a fully painted version of the X Plus 25cm Iris that just got a release, at least the RIP versions I should say. They showcased the an upcoming Death for Real 1974 Godzilla, which should be dropping, I think, in November, which is this month as a matter of fact. And they showcased a few other things. And they also showcased this figure of Gamera. Once again, the 1965 Gamera Favorite Sculptors line Rig exclusive edition. And when I first saw this figure, I have to say this, I wasn't really, now don't get me wrong, it's a great figure. You know, on first glance, it's a great figure. But for me, I have never really been a big fan of the debut look of Gamera. I'm more so a fan of the 66 and 67 when it comes to the Showa era Gamera, quite frankly. So I'm not really a big fan of the 65 Gamera in terms of design. So when I saw the figure, I was like, it looks great, but I was really on the fence if I was going to get it or not, right? Then fast forward like a few months, it was going to drop in August, but once again with COVID and all that situation with the impact that's having on the ship and release dates of these figures, instead of it dropping in August, it finally got into collectors' hands in October. And even then I was like, you know, after seeing pictures of people getting theirs and blah blah blah, even I was like, it looks okay. But you know, I still wasn't in the market to get one, quite frankly, because as I mentioned in my last review, the Death for Real Monster 2019, I'm getting to a point where I have to be really selective and choosy with what I want to add to my collection. Because I don't want to buy a figure just to be buying it. I don't want to have a figure in my collection and it has no purpose. Because then you come back and look at it like 2 or 3 weeks later and say, hey, why did I buy that? You know what I'm saying? That's like wasting your money in my opinion. So I really didn't feel the need to go after Gamera at first. That will change more than a few seconds. I think around a month later, or at least later, 2 or 3 weeks later in October, I should say. And we'll give a huge shout out and thank you to Paul Costa. You may have heard of his name in the S Plus Collectors Facebook group. He actually had one on pre-order, but he decided he didn't want it anymore. And he was sending out feelers if anybody want to take over the pre-order for him. And after seeing more pictures of this guy and just me not having a 1965 Gamera in my collection, I'm like, you know what? I go after it. So that's the backstory of me getting this figure, you know, and I'm glad I got it, you know, because when it first came up for pre-order, at first I thought they were going to do like two versions. They were going to do like a standard version or a Rick version, because the Rick feature of this release, even though it is a Rick exclusive figure release, it comes up with with light up eyes. That's basically it. Because in the film, Gamera's eyes do light up in certain scenes, because he doesn't have eyelids and stuff like that. So whenever he's like defeated by a foe or he's sleeping or whatever, his eyes were just powered down. So really, the Rick feature is really something that really happened in the film. But when I found out it was going to be just a Rick exclusive release, I decided I wasn't going to go through the extra legwork to try and get it. But thank you to Paul Costa, I now have this in my collection, and it's a great figure. And I know a lot of folks probably thinking that, you know, this is the first ever Gamera in the favorite Sculptors line, because when you think about the line, it's only been around for like 2 or 3 years. They've done a couple 62s, a GMK Baragon and Mothra, Varan, Mogera for the Mysterians, you know. So it's really like early in the run of the line, quite frankly. And I know some people probably think they've never done Gamera, but actually they have. Like early in 2017, I want to say like around April 2017, they made actually 2 sets of Gamera coin banks, or Gamera Death for Real coin banks in the favorite Sculptors line. They first did Gamera 1966 and Baragon, and what I mean by coin banks is like they have like a little minifigure of Gamera and Baragon, and then on top of it is like this city base or whatever, and the base is actually the bank where you can put the coins in, for what I understand. Then they came back a few months later and did Gamera 95 and Trauma Gamera from 99, or the Nightmare Gamera from 99. But once again, Gamera has had its share of favorite Sculptors line releases. The coin banks look great, even though I didn't go after them. But you could definitely add this one onto the list as far as like great Gamera pieces when it comes to S Plus, and especially the favorite Sculptors line. So that's pretty much it with the backstory of me getting this figure and the backstory in general involved in this figure. And you know what? Before we go into the head, the shell, and tail, and feet, and all that with Gamera, let's first talk about the Rick feature that I alluded to earlier. So yes, it comes with the light up, and of course you have this battery pack, which has the logo of the figure release onto it. And you actually just plug the battery pack in the back of Gamera's heel. And then you plug it in, and then his eyes actually light up. And his eyes do light up, and lights are really good, you know. And thank God it did light up, because I didn't have the best of luck with my 25cm Godzilla 2019 figure. Spoiler alert, I'm sorry, I won't be reviewing that figure. Yeah, I don't want to go into it, but I will tell you this. I did get it a couple months ago, and unfortunately the light up doesn't work, so I'm not going to really be reviewing that figure. But there are plenty of reviews out there of that figure. Gojira 851, a few other people have done a review of that figure, so you have plenty of reviews for that figure. So I was really kind of hesitant to plug in this battery pack when I got Gamera out for the first time, because I didn't know what if the actual light up feature was going to work. But knock on wood, it does work, and it does look really well. You know, there's a little minor bleed through around one of the eyes or whatever, but for the most part, it actually works. And it's a nice little Rick feature involved in this figure. Now, once again, this is from the favorite Sculptors line. This is based off an Heisei Gamera kit. And of course, this is not the first time they have dabbled in the size OK line. That's Plus I'm talking about. They got Gamera here. The favorite sculptors line Varan, that was our size OK kit. The Megara for the Mysterians that came out earlier this year, that's a size OK kit. And I mentioned the favorite sculptors line Rodan 1956 earlier, that's coming out next year. That's a size OK kit. So they've done a great job for us, like, picking these certain kits to debut or at least make an appearance in the favorite sculptors line. And you can definitely add this Gamera 65 onto the list. So the sculpt is basically just like the resin kit of the size OK Gamera 1965. And you have Gamera with his arms or his hands clutching together. So the sculpt is really, really good with his head kind of twisting, whatever. So the overall sculpt for Gamera involving his head, his claws, his feet, his tail, his shell looks really, really, really good. Now this is at a point where Gamera had a somewhat of a Quasimodo or hamburger type of stature, Now, they would refine the concept, or at least they would do better changes for Gamera in the Heisei series, but this one, since they were starting out, it's trial and error, Gamera didn't look the best when it came to the Showa films. Like I said, his look improved in the Heisei series. But once again, this is Gamera's debut film. This is the first time they ever tried something like this. And it's really, really resonate in the sculpt here. But basically the whole figure from head to toe is colored basically in the same color scheme, like a dark charcoal gray, kind of akin to Godzilla figures, with basically highlights all over the body, on his head, on his shell here, especially his shell. His shell looks amazing. Now, mind you, once you handle this figure, please be careful, because his shell is kind of sharp, because he has those, the parts of his shell that's kind of like sticking out. So don't be careful when you grab his shell, because I don't want to hurt yourself. And it's lots of pointing and spikes in the back of his shell here, so please be careful. So the shell looks amazing. The tail, not really a long tail like Godzilla per se, but just a nice sized tail, has some highlights on the tail as well. Like I said, the claws and his feet, somewhat of the same color, dirty bone, white or whatever. Then we go to Gamera's face. You have the coloring and the gums and stuff like that. Looks really good. The teeth are individually sculpted. His giant tusks on both sides of his lower jaw, which basically is a trademark of Gamera. It's like one of his best things that he's most known for. Looks really good. And of course the eyes, when they're not light up, have somewhat of a yellowish tint to them, So the look of Gamera of this figure looks great. I really do enjoy it. Now, mind you, this is Gamera's debut film. Long before he was the guardian of the universe, long before he was the friend of all children, Gamera was a menace. And he was killing folks left and right. He was attacking Japan. He was flying all over the world. So before they decided to turn him into a children's superhero like they did with Godzilla in the 70s, Gamera was a menace, and I highly implore everybody to go back and watch the original Gamera film. I always say that when it comes to the Gamera Showa films, because I know the Gamera Showa films don't have the best reputation, and maybe some of that is deserved and maybe it's not. But I always recommend the first three: Gamera 65 or Gamera the Giant Monster, Gamera vs. Baragon the following year, and Gamera vs. Gals the following year after Baragon. Those to me are the best ones that you can probably watch from the Showa period. The rest of them, they really push the kiddie element hard in those films, so I know that may rub folks the wrong way. But I always recommend the first three, even though, like I said, this movie doesn't really sit right with me on certain respects. I mean, I enjoy it. I don't really hate it. But there are some things I do have issue with. But to see where Gamera come from, kind of like Godzilla, in my opinion, every Godzilla fan should watch the original Godzilla film to find out the origin of the character. Gamera's no different. So if you want to know more about Gamera, please start at the beginning, and then you can see where he has came from and has evolved into the icon that he is today. But speaking of icon, this is an iconic figure, and I don't throw that figure, that name around lightly, quite frankly. It is a nice piece. I'm so glad I came around on it. Thank you to Paul Costa for giving me the opportunity to get this figure. Because at first, once again, I was really just not wanting to get it. And I was really trying to just be very selective on what to add to my collection. But I'm glad he's part of my collection now. Because I never had a Gamera 65 in my collection before. Now, S Plus has done a Gamera 65 before. They've done a 25 centimeter 65 that came out early in early 2014. The standard was just Gamera by itself. The Rick came with a small spaceship capsule that they used to send Gamera into space at the end of the film. So that was that release, and that figure has gone for stupid money. Even if I wanted to get that figure per se, I'm not going to pay the stupid money that I've seen that figure go for in the aftermarket for so many years now. But thank you to Paul Costa, I got this for a great price, and now I have the debut version of Gamera in my collection, and it's a great piece. So if you can find one good, if you can find one for a good price, please go after it. It really is a nice piece. I've seen a couple pop on eBay for not too shabby of a price. So maybe you can go in there and get this figure, you know, whatever. Cause it is worth the investment, especially if you're a Gamera fan and if you want every single incarnation, courtesy of X Plus, of Gamera. You can definitely add this one onto the list. Yes. So let's do a couple size comparisons. And you know what? I'm going to bring up a couple figures since this movie debuted in 1965. But you know what? There were a couple other awesome kaiju films that came out that year. So I'm going to bring up two figures from those respective films and more on that in a few seconds. So let's go with the first size comparison with a 1965 show off. So let's do that right now. Okay, folks, this is the first size comparison, and as I mentioned earlier, of course, the man of the hour, the guy in the middle, the favorite Sculptors line 30cm Gamera 1965 Rick exclusive edition. I talked about bringing up two other kaiju that came out in this glorious year of 1965, so you knew exactly who I was talking about. So without further ado, let's dive headfirst into them. Of course, the Gamera's right. I had the X Plus 25cm Godzilla 1965. Based off his appearance in the super cool kaiju film that came out this year, 1965, Invasion of Astro Monster, also known as Godzilla vs. Monster Zero. And of course, to the other side, I have the X Plus 25cm Toho Frankenstein, based off his appearance in another cool kaiju film of this year, Frankenstein vs. Baragon, also known as Frankenstein Conquers the World. As you can see, they look really well together. Now, mind you, if you go after this figure of Gamera, which is something I didn't really talk about earlier in the review, as you can see here, Gamera is not really a full 30cm figure, even though he is advertised as one. As you can see here, he's basically the same height as both Frankenstein and Godzilla. But don't get put off by that if you do go after this figure. He makes up for it for us like being an official 30cm figure because of his girth, because of his mass, you know, because with him being a wide kaiju. You know, that's what the 30cm comes from. You know, that's where he gets the 30cm size from, just his mass and his girth, you know, per se. Before it's like height-wise, he does give off a little bit of height. And you know what? He's not the only Gamera that does that. The Heisei version of Gamera, at least the 95 and 96 that you'll see in size comparisons in just a few seconds, they give off a little bit of heights. But, you know, ordinarily, Gamera doesn't really come across as tall as Godzilla, you know? So that's the reason for that. So don't get put off by that if you do go after this figure and once you pair it up with other X Plus figures. But once again, this is such a great comparison. And matter of fact, why don't you pipe down in the comment section, let me know what was your favorite film of this year. Because starting with this year of 1965, you know, with the success of the Godzilla film rolling on, at this point, you know, Godzilla has fought King Kong, Mothra, Rodan, King Ghidorah. He has gone to outer space, you know, in this year of 1965. So the Godzilla series was rolling. So it was nice to see like these other studios and these other kaiju coming to the fold with Gamera, with Frankenstein, with the Gargantuous the next year. You know, King Kong escapes the following year. So, but this year was really 1965. This year was really the year where a whole bunch of kaiju from different studios were all coming together to bring entertainment to the masses. And it got bigger in 66 and bigger in 1967. And of course, with the advent of television at the time with the Ultra shows or whatever, it just brought pretty much almost every kaiju that you could think of into the fold. But I think it started with this year of 1965. And as you can see here, these are three great examples of three great kaiju from three great films from 1965. And as I mentioned just now, why don't you tell me in the comment section what was your favorite film or kaiju film that came out in 1965? Is it Gamera the Giant Monster, Frankenstein Conquers the World, or Godzilla vs. Monster Zero? I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. So that's pretty much it with the first size comparison. You know what? In my last size comparison, I'm going to bring up two other 30cm X Plus Gameras that I have in my collection with the 95 and the 96. And let's see how this new Gamera stacks up with the newer Gameras from the Heisei series. So let's go with that final size comparison or Gamera comparison in general right now. Okay, folks, this is the last size comparison, and yes, we have an army of giant fire-breathing flying super turtles. Yes, 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 yes. And of course, we have the man of the hour, the Gamera 1965 favorite sculptors line. And of course, he is flanked by two other Gamera counterparts. Yes, yes, yes. The one to the right is the X Plus 30 centimeter RMC poster version of Gamera 1995 from Gamera Guardian of the Universe. And on the other side, I have an S Plus 30 centimeter Gamera 1996 RMC exclusive edition version of Gamera from Gamera Advent of Legion or Attack of Legion. As you can see here, you see the great evolution of Gamera from his debut film all the way up until you get to the Heisei. And these are great, solid representations of Gamera. Eric Henry, if you can hear me, ain't this great? Ain't this great to finally see Gamera like this? This is awesome. S Plus have done a great job with Gamera so far when it comes to these figures. The 25 centimeter 99 figure, the 25 centimeter 96 figure, Iris, Gauss, they have done a great job with Gamera so far. This is great seeing these turtles together. And as you can see here, Gamera does kind of size up well with the other Gameras here, because they're all officially are 30 centimeter figures, but as I mentioned earlier just now in the other comparison, with Gamera having somewhat of a kind of a stout Quasimodo Elephant Man type of stature, with him having more of a humpback type of stature, he's going to give off a little bit of height that way. But as you can see here with the other Gameras, he makes up more for that in his girth and his mass. And it looks great. All of them are Rick exclusive editions. All of them have great, great light ups. The Gamera 96 has a red light up. The 95 has a fire light up, and as you saw earlier, Gamera 65 has a light up in his eyes. But these are all great representations of Gamera from their respective movies, courtesy of X Plus. So if you can find any of these figures for a good price, please go after them. He may not be as popular as Godzilla, but he's still a great figure, or at least monster to go after when it comes to X Plus. Trust me when I say that. So that's pretty much it with all the size comparisons or comparisons in general that I want to talk about involving the favorite sculptors line 65 Gamera. So let's go with the final commentary portion of the video right now. Okay, folks, I'm back with my final thoughts of the X Plus 30 centimeter favorite sculptors line Gamera 1965 Week Exclusive Edition from Gamera the Giant Monster or Gamera the Invincible. Once again, a great figure from head to toe. I really do enjoy it. It's a nice addition to my collection. I really do have great fondness for this figure now after me bashing on it for so long. But once again, I'm glad to have this in my collection. Once again, thank you to Paul Costa for making this happen for me. I really do appreciate it. Now, let me talk about Gamera the Giant Monster as a film for a few seconds before I let y'all go. And as I mentioned earlier, this film is like a middle-of-the-road film for me. I don't necessarily love it. I don't necessarily hate it. I'm fine with it. I rarely go back to it. I have to be honest here. I haven't been back to it in a while. As a matter of fact, when I got my Gamera Blu-ray set from Arrow a couple months ago, I did watch pretty much majority of the films, if not all of them. And that's the first time I saw Gamera 65 in God knows how long. I don't go back to this film often. Once again, I applaud the effort. I applaud the fact that, at that point, Daiei saw what Godzilla was doing, how successful that series was, and they decided to bring forth their own interpretation of a giant monster film, whatever. So I really appreciate the effort. But as far as like a first ever debut film, it's okay. I don't want to sit here and bash the film. But once again, when I talk about the Showa Gamera films, there's a lot of negative stigma involved in the films because towards the latter half of the Showa era Gamera films, they started to push the kiddie element more, which can rub some people off. But as I mentioned many times before, I do recommend the first three. This film, Baragon, and Gauss. These three are probably the best of the Showa Gamera era films. And once again, like I mentioned with Godzilla earlier, to really become a true fan, to really know what's going on, you have to really watch the original, especially in Godzilla's case, and especially in Gamera's case. Because long before Gamera was the guardian of the universe, the friend of all children, and all that good stuff, before he was this great, great superhero that would come in and befriend little children and take out these outlandish monsters, he was a straight up menace and badass in this film, if you really think about it. You see Gamera basically killing folks left and right in this film. Now, mind you, when it comes to the debut monster of debut monster movie of a particular kaiju or monster like Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra. I guess you can throw King Ghidorah into that equation too. But normally when it comes to these debut monster films, normally they take a long time for the monster to show up. They build up the monster's appearance where you see like little rumblings of the monster here and there. You don't actually see the monster on screen per se, but you get little rumblings that it's coming. Not with Gamera. Actually, Gamera actually is in the movie before the beginning credits roll. So basically, Gamera's in the film throughout. And it's pretty much action throughout the film. You know, we see Gamera attacking folks, attacking ships, killing folks, you know, him flying all over the world, at least being sighted all over the world. The military having, you know, these plans to try and take him down or whatever. His attack on Tokyo is great. You know, the fact that they basically made Gamera so powerful that they couldn't really kill him. The only way they were able to defeat Gamera was that they lured him into a spaceship and drove him into space. Which was kind of smart because, you know, because at that point it was a gamble with Gamera, quite frankly. Because at first it wasn't going to be a giant turtle film. It originally was going to be like a giant rat film. Please get the Gamera set and know more about that story. But yes, the original concept for what evolved into Gamera was a giant rat film. But it evolved into the Giant Turtle Gamera project, right? So they had no idea, basically, at this time that Gamera was going to be a success or not. But it was smart of them to not really kill Gamera at the end of the film. You know, by him being lured into a rocket and being drove into space, you know, it gave them an out in case they decided to bring Gamera back if the film did successful. And it did successful enough that they did bring Gamera back. And it was a nice device, you know, versus like, you know, the original Godzilla film, they killed him off in the first film, so they brought him back in the second film, but it was another Godzilla creature from his same species. That was an explanation on how Godzilla was able to come back. But here, with him being drove into space and him crashing to a rocket and coming back to Earth in the next film, it gave them an out, even though they would kill off Gamera towards the tail end of the Showa period. But that's another video for another time. But I have to say, you know, it's a cool debut film, you know, whatever. Like I said, it doesn't really hit all the marks for me in terms of a monster movie. But it's nice to go back to every now and then to see what Gamera was doing before he became the guardian of the universe and before he became the friend of all children. He was a nasty, mean menace in this film. So if you're not seeing this film, please go and watch it. Or please track down the Gamera set if you can find one. Or they just announced basically that they're going to be releasing or re-releasing the Gamera Arrow set. But like, you know, like I guess they're going to split them up in the Showa and the Heisei period at some point in time, you know, from what I understand. So if you missed out on the first release of the Gamera Blu-ray set that came out in August, please go after the new ones that's coming out. I want to say, I think either next year or something like that. That way you can get a great education on Gamera and start with the first film to see where this all began. Before he fought Baragon, Gauss, Zegra, Legion, Iris, before he did all those things, he was Gamera the Invincible in 1965's Gamera the Giant Monster. Yes, yes, yes. So that pretty much concludes my review of the X Plus 30cm Gamera 1965 Favorite Sculptors line Rick exclusive edition, based off his appearance in his debut cool, super cool, awesome film, Gamera the Giant Monster, also known as Gamera the Invincible. If you have any questions, holler me down in the comment section. Hit me on Facebook via Leslie P. Chambers. We'll definitely go from there. Yes, once again, great figure. Once again, Paul, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to get this figure. You have now filled another want on my list of having a 1965 Gamera in my collection. I didn't know I really wanted it until you came along. So thank you so much for allowing me to get this figure. And once again, as I mentioned earlier, he is up on eBay for at least a couple times. I saw him on eBay a couple days ago. He is up there for a relatively good price. He is not overpriced just yet. So if you want this figure, go after it now. Not right now, but right now to get this figure, because the longer you wait, the more he'll be up there in price. And I don't want you to miss out on a great figure, especially if you're a Showa Gamera fan, and especially if you want all incarnations of Gamera from the Showa period. Please start off with this figure right here. You would not be disappointed. Yes, yes, yes. So much stuff is coming here on the channel. I just did my Death of a Mothra 2019 review. I did my favorite Sculptors line review with Gamera here. I think my next review is going to be something from the Gigantic series. I can't wait to dive into that, so please stay tuned. You will not be disappointed with that review, but in the meantime, get this figure. Get this awesome, super cool figure courtesy of the X Plus Favorite Sculptors line, the weekly exclusive edition of Gamera 1965 from Gamera the Giant Monster, also known as Gamera the Invincible. Yes, yes, yes. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see y'all again on the next figure move review. All right? Y'all take it easy.